First, the most interesting speech, I think, will be Melania Trump, the First Lady. We don't hear her speak very much. We're told that her remarks are going to be quite optimistic and positive, and it'll just be interesting to see what she has to say. Remember in 2016 when she gave her speech, she had actually got caught plagiarizing or lifting some themes and some lines from Michelle Obama's convention speech a few years prior. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. But also, what I'm really interested in seeing is how the Republican Party handles this law and order issue. Trump has really been hammering this throughout the summer in reaction to all the protests. And now we've seen in Kenosha, Wisconsin, what's interesting to me is the riots there are happening in a place that has electoral importance in terms of being a battleground state. Kenosha itself, Kenosha County, was won by Donald Trump for the first time by a Republican in 44 years by about 250 votes in 2016. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that area and that state reacts to the president's remarks, to Republicans' remarks on law and order in the wake of these riots. It really hasn't mattered in Portland and Chicago and New York, places that are heavily Democratic. But Kenosha is going to be something to watch.
And Steve, another speech expected to get a lot of attention, it is already, is Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Explain, if you can, for our international audience, why it is already considered controversial, breaking precedent, but that's something that the administration has never been afraid of.
Right. The administration throughout, and this president, has broken a lot of norms. And the case here is the Secretary of State usually doesn't get involved in domestic politics. Historically, they just haven't done it. And I think it's been at least 75 years since the Secretary of State has spoken at a political convention. Pompeo is a unique situation in that, one, he works for Trump, and Trump, I don't think, really cares about these norms. But secondly, Pompeo is somebody who is not been too shy about his future political plans. This is a guy who is expected to run, or at least think about running for president in 2024. This is an opportunity for him to not only boost Donald Trump's foreign policy credentials as he sees it, but also boost his own political credentials in case he does decide to run for office in the future.
And, you know, day one, we heard a lot of China virus, but nothing really on COVID so far, the coronavirus pandemic, kind of the opposite of what we heard last week at the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah, there was one video where they tried to spin all of the COVID information in favor of Trump and say he's handling this well. And, you know, these conventions are really an opportunity for the parties to put some spit and polish on even the worst things that are going on within a presidential candidate. And as we know, as we've seen in the polls, Americans do not approve of how the president has handled coronavirus. So I think they're really downplaying generally what's going on with coronavirus, mainly because it doesn't make the president look very good. So you'll see mentions here and there of it, and they'll try to make it look like that he's handling it in a positive way. But at the end of the day, Americans right now, over 60%, do not approve of how the president's handling this, and I think they're going to talk about other issues where they think they can make some inroads with voters.
That being said, 30 seconds left. Steve, what do you think will be the big highlight this week?
This week? Well, of course, you know, we're all going to be anxious to see what the president has to say, and that's on Thursday night. You know, he's been showing up. He showed up last night. We're anxious to see what he does tonight. I think people are expecting him to show up tonight. But really, what are his remarks on Thursday? What is his plan for a second term? He hasn't been very clear about that. So we're going to be looking very closely to see what he says on Thursday night.
All right.